Welcome back to the part 2 of the CL63 Nightmare project. Now, this is part 2. If you guys haven't seen part 1, make sure that you guys watch that one first before you watch this video so you're all caught up. So we are going to be dropping this side of the exhaust because we're going to be putting some downpipes here because it's going to sound absolutely phenomenal once you get rid of the big bulky cast that this car has. So let's drop this exhaust down. Hey guys, so I just took out the exhaust over here and we could take a better look now. Much more room to work with too to get to the engine mounts finally. It's over here and the other one here. But you can see a lot more room to work with. So let's do a quick inspection. That oil is coming up because I took out the valve cover, so that's normal. The only thing I do see is a little bit of coolant. Dried up coolant on the top hose over here, so we'll address that issue when we take off the intake manifold. But other than that, everything looks okay. Here's the exhaust. So it comes off in two pieces. This is a factory clamp, so this just slides in here and just gets bolted over there. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting here and here and putting a straight pipe to get rid of the cat. Adds power as well, and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. So I installed a new battery. I always like to label the batteries which day I installed it, just so it's easier in the future for anyone to reference if it's a bad battery or not and how old it is. Typically you want to replace the battery every 5 years. So just did that one. Should be good for 5 years. So we're going to go ahead and remove the cylinder head, and we're going to be replacing the head gaskets as well. It only makes sense if we're only this far into it, so we might as well just replace it now because we don't know if the head gaskets are bad or not because mysteriously the coolant is disappearing. The last thing that we want is putting everything back together, starting it up, putting coolant in there, taking it for a drive. Next thing you know, there's a bunch of white smoke coming, and then we have to do the job all over again, taking the heads off, replacing the head bolts and the gaskets, everything, right? So we might as well just replace the head gaskets now. Typically on the other cars, when the head bolts are not as bad and there's no coolant issues, you are able to get away by doing the head bolts one by one. But you gotta be really careful doing that. I'm gonna have more information on that regarding the cylinder head replacement one by one at a later video. But for now, stay tuned and watch. So again, we're going to be removing the cylinder heads to get to the head gaskets. To get to the head gaskets, we have to go ahead and remove the intake manifold as well. So that's good because we're going to be replacing the gaskets that run across the intake manifold. So we're going to be replacing these little bolts as well, the aluminum bolts. They're one-time use, so you can't reuse the bolts that you take out. Initially, again, I'll just state this, what I would have done is I would have replaced the head bolts one by one. You start off over here, it says 1. So you all start off with this. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You do it one by one. This way the pressure is still applied on the head gasket. Now, this only applies to cars that don't have a coolant missing problem, right? So you bring a C63 in, whichever M156, and you want to do the head bolts as a preventive maintenance, but your car runs perfectly fine, I recommend you doing it that way. When you do that job, be going ahead replacing this sealed as well as a preventive maintenance, and you'll be doing the valve cover gaskets as well, and the pulleys and the belt. This way you're solid. But unfortunately for this one, I do have a big feelings because of the missing coolant and some dodgy maintenance on this car. I believe that the head gasket is toast, so we're gonna replace that. To do that, I'm gonna have to remove a bunch of more items. For again, this, I'm gonna have to remove the ABC pump. I'm gonna have to remove this pipe. I'm gonna have to slide the retainer pins out for the guide rails. I'm gonna have to remove the gears. I'm gonna have to remove a bunch of stuff. Alright guys, so I pulled the intake manifold off. Let's go ahead and take a look at the valves here. Looks pretty clean, so. The other thing is I could tell someone's already done the intake manifold gasket job on this before, because the new ones do say M159. So this is a SLS part number actually, but all the replacement ones are the M159, so that's good. So far so good. I'm trying to get these head bolts out of the head. This is what they look like. The problem is there's a lot of rust buildup in most of these. So as I'm unscrewing these out, what's happening is it's getting stuck halfway out. Not even halfway out, I would say about an inch and a half up. And it's not, and it just keeps spinning, so they're not coming out. That side I had to struggle. As I was lifting the head out, I couldn't get the head bolts out, so I had to leave the head bolts in there. But then I had to get the head halfway out and then reach in there and try to basically jab up the bolt. But this is all because these head bolts sit in a coolant chamber and rust develops over there, so a lot of corrosion builds up. You can unscrew these, but they just don't wanna come out, so it's starting to become a pain in the ass. But yeah, it's starting to take a lot longer than it should. Here, just to show you guys an example. So for example, I could pull this one halfway out, this one, but these are all unscrewed. But they're getting stuck because of the rust that's on the head bolts. So that's becoming challenging when it's all the way in there and I can't even get that out. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna use an impact and I'm gonna spin it in there as fast as I can with an impact. Hopefully that breaks loose the rust, and I'm able to thread the bolt back in and then pull it out. Fun fact, you wanna know why mechanics swear a lot? I'll tell you why, look. Now, this bolt is completely stuck in the head, and I can't take the head out fully because this is hitting this, but this is stuck in here. So, that's why mechanics swear a lot. And they have a lot of patience, so that's a fun fact for you to know. So this is the old head bolt. As you can see, there's a lot of crud and rust and corrosion buildup on this. So whatever this buildup was not allowing me to pull the head bolt out. So the reason is this sits in a coolant chamber. So over time it gets rusted up. So apparently the new one, the Mercedes sells, the superseded ones, basically don't stop the problem, but they slow the problem down. All right, finally got the heads out. Let's take a look at the pistons. They look fairly clean. Not bad for the mileage. Has about 155,000 kilometers on it. So it looks like someone's been using proper gasoline at least. Might be doing maintenance, but they've been using proper gas, so that doesn't look bad. Let's just take a look at how the old head gasket looks like. I could get it out. Yeah, I got it out. So it's hard to tell if it's leaking or not, but definitely not gonna reuse this. This can go in the trash. Also, I took out the old ABC dampener. As you can see how it exploded. Just crazy. So my belief is that inside of this there is like this spear. So the spear blew first and that causes noise. So maybe whoever owned the car before ignored that noise. It got so bad, so whenever you go over bumps, this would be taking all the bumps. So he probably hit a bad pothole or something, and then the fluid went like that, and then it basically popped this up. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 3 coming up soon. Thanks, guys.